Hi everyone, this is Lori. I've been asked by a handful of people if I would do another video to show how I use a mask and gesso because they're having some problems with getting really crisp looking edges when they're using the mask and gesso. And so I'm going to try to give you as many hints as I can, little tips that I use when I do it. Hopefully it'll help. Maybe it's the type of gesso that each person's using. I'm not sure. I got this at Michael's. This is the brand I use. It is very creamy, very thick. I could make a real what's called a soft peak. It'll kind of fall over a little bit in the palette there. So okay, so that may have something to do with whether or not people aren't getting a very crisp edge or something. Might be the type of gesso. Okay, so what I do, I've got a piece of black cardstock here that I went ahead and taped down because you definitely, one of the important things is not to let anything that you're working with be able to move. This is just a stencil I got at Walmart. I use that to see if I can show you what I do because I think it's got a large enough pattern. Here, so let's go over this way so we can make it messes several places. So this one kind of, I noticed the stencil kind of bows up and over like this, and so I'm going to turn it over because I want to make sure it's as flat to my surface as I can get. And I just get a pretty good size dollop of the gesso on my foam brush. And I hold my fingers as close to the area that I'm going to work on, adjusting them around. So the one thing I do not do is I do not touch the brush down against the stencil at any time. I make sure that it is always just above the stencil, never completely pressed down on it. I get a large amount. I dab it into the area that I want it to be in, and then kind of pull it across, never letting the foam brush touch down. I'll get my fingers closer here. So kind of globbing it into the area you want to work with. And then I do pull it across, but I'm only pulling the top layer of gesso. I'm not pulling hard enough to force the gesso down below the mask. I'll get over here and get this petal here. Get a little bit more gesso. Glob it into the area that I'm working with, and then pull and smooth. But remember, I'm just pulling the top layer across. And that should be enough to get a few petals. And if I look like I have too much gesso over the area, then I can go back over, scrape off some of it. Again, not touching down onto the stencil itself. And pull it in several directions if you need to. Let's see, I've just about pulled off too much there. Alrighty, and then we're going to lift straight up and slowly. And then you get your defined petals. Then what you'd want to do at this point, let's say you want to move and put another flower over this way. You need to clean the gesso completely off both sides of this stencil, because as you can see, some of this has seeped underneath there just a little bit, and if I was to lay this back down, it's going to mess up my next impression. So you want to make sure that you completely get that off. And the best way to do that is actually go down and take it in the sink and completely rinse it off. I am just going to use another part of my stencil instead of running down and cleaning mine. Now let me show you what would happen if you were to press down too much into your stencil. So let's say I've got some on my brush, and I'm pressing down and I'm touching down to the stencil, and if you notice, the stencil kind of lifted at one point, and once it starts lifting, because I've pulled it or pulled up on it, that's going to force that gesso down underneath there, and you're not going to get a very good look underneath there. So, and if it's loose, you know, if you're not holding down right next to it, so let's hold over this way just a little bit, and I'm blobbing around maybe and pressing in a little bit into my stencil. Let's see how that looks. And then see how you're getting a really kind of a messy look to it there. You're getting it spread out too much. It's kind of not a very smooth texture on top. And this is still a great look, but if this is not what you were hoping for, and you were hoping for something more crisp like this, then you want to remember not to press down so hard, not to push so hard that you're pushing it underneath the stencil. Look at the back of this stencil here. Let me get it in this spot over here. See how you can see so much more of the gesso on the back of it? That's because I was pushing down too hard and pulling, and it was forcing the gesso underneath the mask. I hope that helps. If it doesn't, give me a question in the PM, and I'll see if I can't figure out another method to show you how to get a good crisp looking stencil. Thank you. Bye.